Hi, welcome in, brother Sergey. You are
Hey,
on the Matchmaker channel. How you doing, brother?
doing well here in Mexico, enjoying it, but glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Brother Sergey. The people know that we are, we're talking about this channel is Matchmaker, Fresh Match, Fresh and Fit, Castle Club. They know that we're all about this life, but we really got to introduce you to the people, my man. And I've got a chance to do a little bit of research on you. I know you got a YouTube channel and you're big in nature, so this is really your time to let us know your name, your age, where you're from,
Okay.
what you're all about, and what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chris. Glad to be here again. Sergey, 25, live in Florida, traveling a bit. Love the outdoors, love wildlife. Obviously, love Fresh Fit, the Red Pill stuff. It's all very cool. But yeah, just very into land, animals, kind of that wild conservation. Getting out there, being, I love just being in the middle of the wild, being around animals. It's tough, it's rugged, it's cool. Great photos for the dating apps. So it's really, it's a good way to comes all together, and it's very, very fun, very fun.
Definitely, especially if you find a lady that loves nature, that's a really good way to like bridge the gap and get yourself out there.
Oh yeah,
Now,
oh yeah.
for everyone that doesn't know, I'm Chris Lovers, host of Matchmaker Locals. You already know, you guys already know what we're doing out here, man. I've actually got a chance to have some conversations with Sergey. And Sergey, I know a little bit more about your personal story. I know a little bit more about your life. Is there anything that you'd like to like tell the people so they can get to know you out here?
Yeah. So I adopted from Russia, so very glad to be in America since very, very young. And I'd say, I'm a believer. I'd say there's like three big parts of my life that have really shifted me towards what I'm becoming, as we all are, successful men with a red pill mindset, being successful for our friends, family, and our goals. But first one was, bam, being adopted to come into this country, a huge opportunity. Two, becoming a Christian, that just sets that firm foundation. Obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with the American church and all this stuff, but being set on the Bible, set on Jesus, that's good. And obviously he points a lot of ways on how we should, like it's better to be on the roof of your house than with a quarrelsome woman. So there's a lot of stuff in there, even for us men. And then the third is like, bam, knowing what the matrix is, knowing red pill stuff, and being aware of like, knowing not just supposed to be, a dog on a leash on a relationship. Even if you love her, you adore her, she's your world, and part of that may be the problem. But that there's an actual right way to do this, that we're not just men that have to roll over and become, dogs in a relationship, or just think we're happy, or be in a marriage that's we're married, but we're not happy and we're not fulfilled. So those are like three big things that have really turned me around, and very glad to be there.
Dude, those are some amazing things. Just the fact that you are a Russian dude, I told you straight up, I would never know. I would have never even guessed it. The way that you've grown up here, the way that you've immersed into the culture, you don't have any of the sound, but you got everything else, So that's super freaking cool. And these cornerstones that you're talking about, coming here, being adopted, having the Bible as a big foundational piece of your life, and then of course relationships being like something that clearly would red pill anybody. I
Right,
don't remember
right.
if we talked about this part in the conversation, but did you become red pill, or were you always red pill after
Um,
the like relationship or whatever? Or how did
yeah,
that go?
I certainly have never been like super blue pill. Like for me, there was always something with being like, I've been outside in the woods since like very, very young. So there was something about like nature that told me like men especially are supposed to be tough. There's a way, there's an order to things. We're not just ambivalent to things. But certainly was very, I didn't have too many relationships in high school, did okay, but there was never like a clear indication of like, I'm the man and this is how the relationships I should set up and this is how it should go. It was kind of like, yeah, there's an order, but like I don't really know exactly what to do here. But fortunately, even with the relationship I did end, it wasn't like I was getting bulldozed for 2 years and then I was like, oh my God, like she took my money, she took my car, she took my dogs. Like, so it wasn't a horrible situation like that. It was, like, damn, like there's things that aren't going right. There's things that it could be so much better. And it wasn't even, it's kind of sad, part of it, like she was a great girl, still very nice, but it was like not the right time, not the right mindset. And as men, we have to be able to be like, all right, gotta do what I have to do. And so certainly became red pill. I'd say, yeah, I wasn't like aware of the red pill and being super red pill. So I became aware of red pill, but I was never I don't have like a massive like burning house flaming story of like why I became red pill. It was more of a slow like, all right, these are things that aren't matching up, things that Fresh and Fit were saying, things that Myron was ranting about, was really like, oh my gosh, like he's living over here in, let's say it's like utopia in the sense of like he knows what to do, he knows the mindset, and I'm over here kind of like dipping my feet in both. You have to be able to just go all the way.
And brother, listen, man, you are at a perfect age and at a perfect level of this fame to be exactly relatable to people, right? And because I have you at like on this podcast right now, what I really want to ask you is like, what was that mentality that we were just talking about like for you in high school and in college, like in these areas? What was it like interacting with the peoples with that state of mind?
Yeah, I just definitely, yeah, that's a good one. So really at the end of high school, I kind of decided like I'm not really going to worry about relationships right now. Part of it was didn't really know exactly what I wanted anyhow, and part of it was just I didn't want to waste the energy. So I knew there was still like you have to put a lot of energy investment in a relationship, and I didn't want that. But certainly like high school, it was certainly like more blue pill. It's just the average high school in America. It wasn't a more rural area, so I would say it was still like we didn't have any of this like gay pride stuff going on. We didn't have all that like very obvious, works of Marxism, the devil stuff really in front of our face. College was very much worse because it was Michigan State University, very left-leaning school. And I actually went in there after talking to my pastor and some other friends, but so I had an option to go to a very conservative college and do my stuff and be, around like-minded people, probably, whatever. Not to say that there isn't a lack of red pill in conservative colleges. A lot of these Christian colleges are still very simpish, but I went to Michigan State with the intention of, yep, I'm going to be trying to go after this leftist stuff, going to be involved in student government, political stuff, obviously get my degrees, but I was very passionate about doing something in that regard, from becoming a Christian, seeing what was going on in our country. So definitely Michigan State was very leftist, but I also went in there knowing like I'm just going to go and attack it. I'm not going to like try to maneuver around it. I was in student government. They tried to kick me out. I had a job on campus. They tried to kick me out of that. So very much so I knew what was going on, and I didn't even worry about relationships, especially in college, because I knew one of the part was when I remember getting on Tinder within like a day, I was like, I didn't even do anything. I was just I was like blocked from the app forever, which I assume just enough leftists had seen me on the app and were like, I'll get this guy out of here. So yeah, I wasn't too worried about that in college, but I knew I was there partially just to be an antagonist to what was going on. And it was fun. But yeah, I didn't worry about relationships then.
So let me ask you this, right? With the mentality that you've developed, is that literally why you're off traveling out in the world, out in Mexico, doing your own thing right now, and maybe not necessarily with a group of friends at this moment? Or is that just happenstance?
I mean, yeah, like I have
How
friends and
connected
stuff.
are you to those people?
Sorry?
Like, how connected are you to the people you grew up with, kind of thing?
Oh, well, no, I still have. So I have like a few sets of friends. Ones are like the ones from Michigan that are like ones I've always known. And like a few of them are married, doing the kid thing, doing the house thing, which fine to them, there's one that's definitely I see a divorce in the future. But we're all friends. Unfortunately, we haven't really had any like big disagreements, and like we've all had different girlfriends at different points, and we've all been like, dude, like, come on, she's doing this, she's doing that. So we all are somewhat, we don't want to get completely screwed over by a woman. That's the general consensus. But certainly some of them are more blue pill, can't say certain things. But, as Myron, as you, as Fresh and Fit, as a lot of these people in the space say, like, you can't really just go up to someone and say, you need to be red pill, you need to get out of the matrix. They have to kind of fall, and you need to pick them back up. And then, friends in Florida, obviously, most of them are definitely, there's a set that it's, diving buddies, running buddies, just outdoor stuff. And so them, they're not super blue pill. I don't really find that a lot of these hobbyists that are really into their sport are very, like, they have a reality of what it means to be overcome challenges, being in struggle. So they're not as usually blue pill at all. And then there's another set where it's like, you guys, Fresh and Fit friends, all that stuff that are, obviously red pill. So Yeah, there's definitely the majority of them. You can't say too much around, but glad to have you guys and other friends that made in Florida that are much more aware of what's going on.
And then, of course, like, at this moment, I got a chance to talk about this demoralization topic with DL Saint, our command general, with
Yeah.
Said, our brother, and then Demoy, our brother. And then you were just breaking down all of this demoralization topic for me right before we got on this podcast, bro. So I really would like to actually pick your mind a little bit, since you have like a little bit of connection to this topic, right? Go ahead, man. Give me this breakdown on your outlook on demoralization and how it is affecting us in America.
Yes, I think so. I think there's a lot of bad stuff. And I think there's some stuff that wasn't accounted for. What they predicted what would happen from the 80s on that is changing how things are going to be. Some things of hope, I would say. So obviously the bad picture is we've had these people put into our universities, Hollywood's huge vessel for this entertainment, because you had to hit entertainment, government, and family. You had to go right after all those. So obviously they've done a really great job. Obviously, countless academics and conservative modern speakers have talked about how the universities are just the people from the 60s that were the rioters, the loud ones, the ones that were telling Reagan to allow the protesters because it's a freedom. And he would say, no, you don't get to burn down buildings in the name of free expression. And so they're there. We know they're in our government. We know they're in a university. And we know the family is, it's at the worst state possible. And it's not even like it's worst state for, Mexicans or whites or blacks. It's across the board bad for everyone. And we're seeing what they're doing has obviously led to, feminism, which is kind of now we've seen, because back then we didn't have women in the workforce as we do now. That this is kind of like, if you want to say like the fourth, fifth wave of it, where it's like, not do we just have women more elevated or told that they don't have to be with men, but we've put them in a place where they don't actually need men or they don't want men. And when you don't need something, you start not to wanting it, and then you start despising it. And we know that, we've seen it. So I think that's where we are now. But I think kind of the signs of hope is that they didn't see in the 80s or the 60s was the massive rise of social media and independent channels. You, Fresh and Fit. Anyone can pick up a phone and start recording, start sharing their ideas, which is great. And now we've had people like Elon Musk, Rumble come to the stage. And that's something, hopefully, that they didn't even predict back 20, 30, 40 years ago, where now we've seen what's a great sign is kind of this slow collapse of mainstream media. Obviously, CNN, Fox News, they still have a good hold, but it's with old people. So 40 years from now, 10 years from now, all these independent channels are so much more popular, so much more stronger. People like, obviously Nick Fuentes he's like, if you want to put on the paradigm, he's much more out there on certain topics. The fact is that now almost anyone can listen to him is incredible. Even if you disagree with him, the idea that you can go find someone way over there or way over from your different viewpoints is incredible. We didn't have that years ago. So I think that's kind of where we have the strongest foothold, is now we can tell people, about tape, about the Matrix, about all this stuff. They can log onto their phone. And any of us, we can log on Instagram. Sure, there's a bunch of femcel stuff on there, a bunch of crap, but also a bunch of other stuff. And we can also go to Rumble, we can go to X. So hopefully with that, we're getting more education. But I think, and like the last point, so we have that hope. I think what's kind of be the last result is, Musk and a few others talk about it, this whole population collapse in the West. And they say it's because women have jobs, all that stuff. But I think it's more, and we would probably agree, it's just the new dating scene is going to lead to less good marriages. Well, not even marriages, but just relationships that result in kids that are in healthy environments. And it's much more that so than a woman is working a career forever. It's more the fact that there's just incompatibility between the sexes now. And so we're going to see probably decline in population a bit, and it's going to get worse before it's going to get better. But then kind of like when Rome fell, the main reason Christianity rose, besides it being, divinely ordained and had a plan, and I'm glad it obviously rose, but was the fact that Christians just outpopulated Romans and pagans at that time, because they were all either not having sex, or they were killing their babies, or they were just in debauchery. So literally Christians just outbred, in a biological term, outbred the current Roman situation and gave rise to, what we have today. So that's something that we could see with, red pill people outbreeding leftists, you know, or if they're not having kids, gays don't really have kids, or they, you know, kill their kids. So, you know, we could see that happening.
You know, and I'm really glad that you share, just as I do, this hopeful outlook on life, because the majority of the people that I speak to do have a doom and gloom outlook. But you and I share I don't even see that. The earth, the firmament is so abundant with everything. I don't see the end in sight. I see nothing but brightness and light and opportunity, which is exactly why I said at this current level of fame, because I know with absolute certainty, based on your intellect, based on the things that we've talking about, you're going to blow. If you put your mind to what you're doing, you're going to be fantastic at it. And I know with absolute certainty that that's true. And, you know, I'm going to give you some points that we're probably going to talk about on another podcast. But like I've told you that I've read missing books of the Bible, and without any doubt in my mind, you know, like even this one I have right here, this showed up to me on my birthday out of freaking nowhere. So I just, you know, I kept it. You know, he's speaking to me and stuff. But I know for a fact the devil can take the form of a man at any point in time. So when you were talking about Hollywood, it reminds me of a conversation that I was having with Donovan Sharp when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock.
Oh, yeah.
So when I was talking to him about that, what happened is that I told him I was reading a book called Outwitting the Devil at that time, and that really shows you the source of the blue pill mentality. So, you know, fast forward to more modern times, there's a movie called Metropolis, Hollywood movie, first movie ever made. Watch it. The devil took the form of a man and made that movie. You'll see the Whore of Babylon. You'll see the upside down crosses. I mean, the upside down pentagrams. You'll see all of this. Like, I'm coming to mind wash you guys. And the reason I know that is I'm a marketing guy, and I can see when the devil's doing marketing too. It is what it is. But just because I can recognize the moves of this person doesn't mean I'm going to be able to eliminate it without a brotherhood, homie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That fallen angel, he is definitely fucking things up, just like you were saying. Like for me, these girls, like I've had moments where a girl in the workplace is nice and soft and just kind of like ease the whole tension between all the
dudes. There's a few, yeah.
So like them as like a secretary or a front desk, I'm for that all day. But get them the fuck out of the workforce, bro. I cannot stand it. It is ruining the dating scene. Because unfortunately, there's two things happening here. For the dudes, like remember when I told you I was younger, what was like podcasting is super hot now. Everybody wants to be a podcaster. Before that, it was vlogger. Before that, it was rapper. I told you I should have wanted to be a rapper. Blah, 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 50 Cent, all that. But the thing is that when you're young, this is a distraction. Because when you want this thing that is so high but so false, it's a false career, it's a false life, it's an illusion. When you want that so much, you go on a descending path. It's a distraction. Same thing for the ladies. The ladies getting all the money and living like a dude makes them a dude. Therefore, I don't want you anymore. You are nasty, and she wants it later in life. Just like a dude would want money later in life for making bad career option decisions, right? So the fact that you were able to break down this whole entire thing of demoralization in and of itself, the conversation is giving me hope, because again, someone in your age group literally needs to be able to carry this torch and pass it on in conversation and in talking to other people. Like, look, I can recognize that people, like when I was talking to Des Moines just yesterday, I was telling him, like, my opinion of like dudes that are younger than you is that they're walking around with a lower sense of morale. They're walking around with a lower sense of self-esteem. They're walking around with a lower sense of belief and accomplishment. They don't see that they're like, for example, they don't see masculinity. They don't see like a dude like me wants to encourage them to go out there and be 10 times better than I ever was.
Right.
At literally every. And because they don't have that reinforcement, they don't know that is out there for them. So they're stuck with the phone. They're trying to do this all on their own. And I was just complaining to Sed. I was like, dude, everything is me, 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 me. I want $50 million. I want $60 million. I'm going to live a laptop life. I'm going to do this all alone. And it's like, what the fuck are you going to do with $60 million and a laptop and be alone? You're going to be number one at being fucking alone if you don't like balance like telling people the way I wrote the book: health, wealth, love, happiness. And that's what I want in everybody's schedule in the day. I want you to have health, wealth, love, happiness all day, every day, scheduled out every single day.
Exactly.
Because like in a perfect scenario, if what, like, then this applies to every dude. If the first girl or like the first girls, because you know, I like having more than one girlfriend at a time. Everybody knows this.
Right.
But whatever girl that you have, right? if she was really down for putting you first, if she was really putting Sergei first on the Sergei train, on the Sergei train tracks, on the Sergei destination to the Sergei ride, she would be getting, like, you're worshiping the Lord. She'd be getting all that love and abundance because the most masculine thing you can do is worship God. She'd be getting all that love and abundance from the worshiping that you're doing, and it would be greatly amplified and amplified and amplified. But they didn't do that, did they?
No.
Because if they did it first, you would be able to reward them, and then she can multiply the blessings as it was set up. But this very thing, that very thing is what's being targeted. So our society is not moving forward. And what's happening is two things on the internet world and in the political world. It's constant chaos. It's constantly the wrong thing. Yeah. And it's constantly what the people are consuming. So it's constantly affecting the real world, man. So in reality, out here in the real world, people are in the house all day. They're not going out like you are. You're probably like the only one, bro. You're probably like, oh, all of God's creation is just for me. All these animals are alone is just me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So while we're on that topic, right, we just went through some of demoralization, and we could talk about a little bit more points about demoralization. If you have anything that you wanted to mention in there, we're going to segue into demoralization, anything about that, and then we're going to talk about love, right? So while we're talking about this dude's interpretation of demoralization and your interpretation of demoralization, are you seeing that play out within any key factors that you can identify within your peer group? What does it look like? You know, like for like I graduated college, you're more closer to the younger people. What does it demoralization look like today for them?
Right. So on one, economical, because that's a really big one, is, I was just talking to we did some swimming with some crocodiles last night, and the group I was with, there was younger guys, but all outdoorsmen, in shape. So like kind of like same like mentality of like, we love the wild, we love being out there. But and one of them was certainly like Democrat, whatever, liberal. But even he was saying, we were talking about like our generation, people, 23 to like 28. Now we're not looking at buying a home. We're not looking at getting a big fancy apartment. We're not looking at getting a 2-car garage for our wife and kids to have the van or whatever. We're looking at, having enough money to live on, A, and then B, hopefully to save up enough money to just get a bigger place to probably rent. Most people are going to be renting than owning a home. And obviously there's different sides. I could say you could rent in a nice area, whatever, you'd be happy. But we're not looking at what our parents, and especially our grandparents, when they were 23, 28, if you weren't married by 28, that was old, Like they actually knew, I feel like in America, there was an actual like Xing Nu, like leftover woman. We actually kind of knew that. And they also kind of knew that for a man. We knew that a man should be somewhat on a path, not necessarily having to be married and kids, all that by 28, but he should have been pretty much getting on that path, because that meant, he had a good job, he could provide, he could have that, that white picket fence and support. I mean, families are the backbone of any society. So when we've crumbled that, where I see it with my friends, most of them, maybe you included, are delaying having kids. And for different reasons among all of us. Theirs is one, they just economically, they don't see the amount, they couldn't afford it right now. And two is one, well, a couple of them I know, they're in a relationship where the girlfriend is, very achieving. She has a career oriented, all this stuff. And to me, he kind of looks like a much weaker aspect of that relationship. So I think that's happening a lot with a lot of my peers, is if they are in a relationship, it's not just egalitarian, it's more on her side. And obviously when we let women take the reins, generally not that good. So that's why I'd say my peer group is really feeling is economically, and just with, again, that compatibility. Even though my friends that are in relationships that don't know exactly what it means to be a red pill, they're still falling into this trap of thinking they're doing the best they can for the woman they love, but they're not going to be having kids anytime soon. And if they do, it's going to be probably another part of that rising above 50% marriage divorce rate.
That whole entire conversation pisses me off about boomers, dude. And I'll tell you why I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, based on conversations that we've had, I played a key part in creating, I created Matchmaker, brought it out to Fresh and Fit. And when that happened, Carasso Club was created because I had this intention in my heart, and here we are with the brotherhood, right? Mm-hmm. So me, one man, pushing as hard as I can to change things, because the weakness of the boomers The weakness of
it's huge.
forces me to be strong. The weakness of the fact that they wouldn't go out there, they wouldn't change politics, they wouldn't get involved, they wouldn't change laws, they wouldn't rally up together, they wouldn't work as a team, they didn't do fucking anything, bro. Like I get in fights with boomers all the time that are older than like, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I have a large network of people of every age, and people that I network with or in my actual like network that are supposed to have done things. I hold them not only accountable, but like now it's to the point where I'm like, I'm letting you know you fucked up and I have to clean up your shit for the whole entire country. Because the fact that a dude like yourself, I'm gonna just be honest with you, bro. People in my age group that graduated in 2009, I don't know any fucking homeowners. I don't know any homeowners, right? So and when I was watching Chris Crone on Fresh and Fit talking, he was like, yeah, bro, Gen Z and millennial have no fucking buying power when it comes to homes. So if you can't have a home and you can't have a woman, and now the shift is that you have a home, you can't have the woman, and you're not even searching for it. They didn't do anything to prevent this, and they don't even fucking care. They will look at you with the old mentality. They'll look at you like, well, why don't you have the home? Why didn't you get the woman? What are they doing? Just fucking around? The level of fucking ignorance in their head is something that I spit at. I'm so disgusted with them. I'm so fucking sick of them. I don't hate them, but I'm damn sure fucking as close as you can be to that without that.
Well, no, and even like what makes just rage inside, but obviously Red Pill rage has to be very contained. But when they're spewing all this stuff out about like, oh, I know this nice girl, or like, there's this girl I know that you should, why aren't you, blah blah blah, like essentially like, why aren't you getting that whole marriage on? I'm like, seeing your marriage, it's crap, Rollo Tomasi all the time is like, just because you're married, and marriage rates in the United States, well, in the monogamous or happy or traditional, it just means on paper you're a legal entity with the state, which is awful in itself. But these boomers that go on about relationships and money, they're probably divorced or pretty much on the pinnacle of divorce. And the only reason their wife hasn't left them is because she's 60 plus. She's sick. I mean, obviously that's way, 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 way over the hill, way over the wall, like remarry and all that stuff. So that's the only reason keeping that together. So you can't come at this like, well, you should do what I did. But okay, maybe you had a good marriage, and they probably honestly did have a good marriage for 10, 20 years. With the kids, the family, the kids through high school, they had a good, like, solid 10, 20 years. But the last 20, the next 10, 20 before they die, aren't that great. And that's what we have that's when we're in a position to say, all right, we can look at the situation. We know you guys had a good part, but we can't go right into your situation because you don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, that makes me mad too. It's because they don't know.
100%, bro. And shout out to Rollo Tomasi, by the way. Got a chance to hang out with him and eat at Chipotle. So look at what we're doing. We're connecting our brotherhood. He sees me. He sees you. You never know what's in the next linking, That's what this is all about. Now we are creating a community that is going to at least be aware of it to the point where we are going to combat this stuff, my boy Sergei. We're going to combat this all the way. Because look at what Myron and Fresh are forced to do, right? Myron and Fresh are forced to push us into a Superman position. Like, we have to be the best of 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 the best to have all the fucking normal things that just used to be like available.
Yeah.
So whatever we're supposed to feel about that, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we are still men. And this fight is not going to be easy. It's not. We got handed the worst of the shit. I'm sure in other times in civilizations, some men probably got handed the worst of the shit too. But at least they probably had normal women. But fuck, we got handed the worst of the shit. And we have to clean it all up. We have to look at the boomers in the face and say, fuck you, you fucking failed. And even if you can't have that conversation, at least I'm willing to say it. But the boomers fucking failed. The Gen Z and millennials, without God, they are lost. Society is at every second of the day screaming a bunch of lies that's distracting us off the path. The only thing you can do is depend on God. Donald Trump just got shot in the ear. God came down and just kind of...
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So, now I get the chance to kind of segue this into, like, what your intentions are, Sergei, what like a good or a better world could look like versus the problems that you're actually seeing. I recently got a chance to talk to someone that says that now when they speak to the younger generation, Like, all right, for example, if you would have told me back in the early 2000s, bro, these dudes are gonna cut off their dicks and dress like women, I would have looked at you. People in my age group would have looked at you in the face and said, "That's Satanism, bro. That's ritual." But now I've actually seen podcasts and talked to generations Z kids, and apparently they're seeing demons that attack you in your sleep, but like while they're awake.
Jeez.
I don't know if you're seeing that shit, but that's what they're talking about now because they're watching cartoons like Demon Slayer. All these things are coming out there. So I know that, I know that is, if that's what they're talking about now, that might be the norm in the next, however, from the 2000s to now 24 years, right? So let's say in the next 20 years, is it just going to be normal for them to be wrapping their arms around demons hanging around? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is once you allow, I mean, the devil comes here to kill, steal, and destroy, and he works in the darkness. And he doesn't, not to sound, I mean, no homo, but like, the devil can be beautiful. Like, he can be an appealing image, something that you can be like, oh, well, that's great, or it's beautiful, or it's kind of like a lust of a woman can be very dark. But so it's, once you allow that to open, once the idea of like, oh yeah, my body's not good, not just because you need to work out, but because something inherently is wrong with you, you need to start cutting things off, or you don't align with the biological sexes. That's like an open door to a lot more stuff. And obviously, like, people can vary on if there's a demonic realm, if there's not. But the problem is something happens when you open that door. Something happens when you open that door, and it's not looking pretty. And like you said, like, kids are just, I mean, your average kid nowadays is fat, not fulfilled. Parents usually not that happy. So let's say like it wasn't even that demonic realm. Like, let's say that wasn't even there. They're still not really having a good environment to allow themselves to be much better and much more on a righteous path. So certainly when you start opening that door, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The kids, and that's the most precious part of society. And it's unfortunate that they're really facing the worst of it.
You know what? Fuck it. We're going to dive into eschatology just a little bit since we can do that, right? So I'll just go ahead and give you some tips that I've learned that I hope to pass your way. They say in Christianity, don't go past the 66 books of the Bible. Fuck that. You guys are wrong. Every one of you are fucking wrong. Because the first thing that they did was take out books, and then they said, don't go past the 66 books. I grew up a Christian. I know this, right? So I can tell you straight up from the missing books, the devil is a shapeshifter. I can tell you that the seraphim angels, there's a book missing called the Book of Amram. In the Book of Amram, here we'll call them reptilians and all this bullshit. No, it's seraphim angels. Seraphim angels have reptile-like skin. You don't get a chance to know that. As above, so below. People don't understand what that means. The reason they talk about as above, so below, most people don't know, is because the devil tried to seat himself above God and had a relationship with God. But as above, so below. That's where it comes from. Most people never figure that out. Ether, I'll get a chance to talk to you about that. Earth, wind, fire, water, ice, or earth, wind, fire, water, or whatever. All of these earth, wind, fire, water, land, then ether, right? The fifth element that combines all of them, like solid, liquid, gas. Ether is like the Holy Spirit. Ether is like, it's removed out of textbooks after the 1920s, right? So after the 1920s, they removed ether, spelled either A-E-T-H-E-R or E-T-H-E-R, right? And the ether is the fifth element. So that's how I was able to do all this. It was through intention. So your intention has to be lined up through your mind and your heart. And I was actually just sent this to Icy. There's a you're not supposed to bow your head and pray. That's retarded because that is not real. You're supposed to look up at God.
Yeah.
You're supposed to look up, lay on your back, look up, whatever, because that is actually praying to really God. So long story short, with the intention that you have, you can push your intention through the ether, which is connecting all of these things. And that is like the Holy Spirit. And that is what prayer is when you're praying to God. So when you're pushing all of these things to God, the reason that people don't talk about this or don't know this is because you have to go through a lot. You have to first go against the grain, then you have to go against what you've been told, then you have to go against the religion, then you have to go against what you've been told in the religion. Right. Study Hebrew, then you have to go in hours and hours and years of videos, then you have to find missing books, and read missing books, and you have to understand and connect millions and millions of dots to be like, oh, okay. So when they talk about reptilians, oh, you know what? I'll go even further. The Illuminati is the Watcher Angels. You might not have ever even heard of that, right? But there was there was more angels that had been cast down because there was more angels that they were called the Watchers. They were supposed to watch Earth, right? And
Right.
after they were cast down, these angels were supposed to go ahead and, instead of watching the Earth, they fell in love with the Earth women. They went down, they made love to the women, and that's where the giants came from. So, some of those angels were Raphael, Samjaza, Azazel. You've definitely heard of Azazel before, right? You've heard of Azazel?
Yeah.
You don't know where it connects, right? Because it connects from the missing books, Book of Enoch, the one that they say, don't read the Book of Enoch. That's bad, blah, blah. Just read the fucking book. Then you decide. You know what I mean?
Right.
Long story short, when they had the Nephilim babies, which was the gigantic babies, right?
Right.
Like,
The giants. Yeah.
But there was giants more than that. And I've also come to find out that we are the smallest. Adam and Eve were about 15 feet tall. Adam used to have a glowing body, and then after the fall, he had a normal human body.
Yeah,
he was pretty from a blue pill life to red pill life, if you read about his life in the first and second book of Adam and Eve. But the Nephilim babies are when they were killed off, when they were killed, they were the disembodied spirits. So there's heaven, there's earth, and then there's the realm in which the Nephilim live. The disembodied spirits. The disembodied spirits do everything that they possibly can to go ahead and seduce you over into jumping into your body. So there was a guy named Aleister Crowley. He was a worshiper of the devil. He started like the Church of Satan and all that, or no, I think there was Laveau, David Laveau or whatever. But this guy, Aleister Crowley, he would worship something called ayahuasca, which was like a demonic thing. And what also is close to ayahuasca is ayahuasca, right? So when they were promoting ayahuasca on Facebook back in like 2016, 17, everyone was getting into these ayahuasca churches, because what they do is those watcher angels that came down, they taught people how to worship the stars. They taught us all the things that you were not supposed to know in this realm. And they were doing it against God. So they taught like about astrology in a witchcraft way. They taught about witchcraft. They taught women to wear makeup. They cast metals and made weapons out of them. And one of the things that they taught is how to do like witchcraft potions. So ayahuasca is something that you can drink, and demons will do what they can to go from their fractal plane of reality, to go from their fractal plane to jump into your body, right? So that fractal plane looks like a LSD trip. The fractal plane looks like a bunch of those like wishy rainbows. You'll see like media pop up, and the reason that pops up is because there's the devil, then there's corporations, then there's those blue pill leftist ideology companies pushing out these pieces of content for you to be brainwashed and distracted by it. Because what is the one thing that they want? Your mind, body, soul, right? So now we went into a level of like only something that other Christians would probably understand, if they're hardcore Christians, if they're gonna like go against the grain.
Actually, yeah.
But that leads us into a lot of areas, that leads us into with that, my ability to understand that, it makes life easier to navigate for me. I want life to be easier to navigate for every person. I'm sure in a Zoom call when we're with all of our brothers, not every single brother is going to be like receptive of this message. So I'm giving this individually to you. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you what I can do, and this podcast out there, people are going to see it. They'll take it for what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So as I was prefacing all of that to say, love, right? What would Sergei do with love? Because I believe love comes from masculinity, worshiping God. I believe love is Jesus Christ. Love is peace. Yep. Peace is Jesus Christ. And that's how you give love to another woman, to amplify back all these rewards and stuff abundantly and through the ether. And that's the intention that I do it through, right? Mm-hmm. How about you, Sergei? How would you use love to change the world?
Yeah, exactly. It's so definitely it has to come from God. It can't be something where if I do this, you'll love me. Like, it can't come directly from you. It has to come from above. It can go through you. But as aforementioned, kind of what is really, I would say, is messed up is, and I've been to a lot of Protestant churches, that's usually the church I go to. A lot of times when they pray or they're praying over someone, and it's weird, I don't do it. They like extend their hands towards the person and they bow their heads. And I'm like, you shouldn't be like praying hands, you shouldn't be symbolicing towards a person. Like, God doesn't need you to touch someone to know that they need healing. And this isn't something where we're dealing in a spiritual realm, not a touching hands in whatever realm. And bowing down to the ground, obviously, I don't get that either. And there's one painting it's really kind of sad, but there's a painting, a famous one. It's like the most famous one of George Washington at Valley Forge. And he has his horse behind him and he's kneeling on the ground with his head like this, praying. But what's really funny is, and there's journals, and there's a few other journals from the generals at that camp. They were saying, no, he prayed with his head right towards heaven, with his arms raised away from him. So like you said, like, we have to know that love comes from God. So for me, it would be, especially for relationships, it's something knowing that God has something ordained, he has it directed out. He still wants me to take action. There's too many Christians, I think, even ones that are maybe more conservative or red pill minded, where they know, oh, this is how I treat my wife. She can have a great life. I know how to be traditional, but they expect the woman to walk into their life, as opposed to God is giving you the tools and instruments to filter out, to vet women, he wants you to, man's a pursuer of, many things that God has for him. So we can't just sit there and expect it to come to us. That's lazy. And then love, for certainly, is that family, is exactly what's in, Ephesians, loving your wife as Christ loved the church. And what I think is really bad, what the modern church does, and there's some good, obviously, but when they say, well, you should just like die for your wife, you just do this for your wife. But the problem is that whole pretext of that chapter and those verses, the very strong ones, these aren't light verses. This is literally how he's commanding us to be with a woman, or with one, like our wife and kids and all that, is she's going to have to already be that Christianly woman, the one that can be deserving of that, the one that maybe you've had to vet her a bit, show her a few things, or teach her some stuff. But this isn't just your average random woman on the street. Marriage wasn't meant to be, even Peter and Paul talk about, like, it's better for a man to marry so he doesn't burn with passion. It's a righteous option. It's not just you should do it because everyone else does it. So when you choose to love, it has to be from God. It has to be a conscientious choice. I'm going to love this woman. I'm going to, marry her religiously. I won't do the state, obviously. And it's going to be something that God has put through me and brought us together. She's already met these requirements. Yes, I understand we're in a very fallen world that has not the best woman, so there'll have to be a lot of vetting and teaching. And then with like friends and like peers, it's certainly like pointing everything back as I can, not directly, or not trying to preach to them, but in every way trying to point them back to the right path, to God, to what's good, and what's hopefully, especially because a lot of people they're not living their, like, it sounds cliche, but they're not living their best life that God would have for them. So somehow give them a bit of hope, a bit of passion, a bit of something to look forward to, as opposed to, hey dude, like, I think, what is it, Andrew Tate, there's a good clip of him, it was like, hey dude, let's go grab some beers and like blah blah blah, just talk about how bad our lives are. No, like, hey dude, let's go to the gym. Hey dude, let's go set up this business. Hey dude, let's go to the church. That kind of more optimistic love to your peers and your friends than just wallowing in self-pity.
I love that, and I want to say, it's funny that you bring up the book of Ephesians, because my little sister Icy, right? I'm always encouraging her to get married. I'm always like pushing her, like, I want this for you. I want you to have that.
Right,
I want you to have love in your life. I just recently sent her a clip, and I'm pretty sure it's from Ephesians, right? And it talks about sanctification, explaining to her, like, why is it that men go through a period of time before they give the wife the ultimate commitment? Why don't they just instantly do it? Like, why is it biologically we just kind of wait and then we give them that time? In the same book of Ephesians, it's called sanctification. So as I was saying, you have to go out, you have to worship God, you have to love God. Love comes from God. You have to literally put this woman or women up in front of God and literally say, these are my women, or these are the ones I'm sanctifying, or this is my girl that I'm sanctifying, right? Bringing special attention to her, that she may be the one that I carry the future on with. Right. It is a process. You have to do this. And, I can have that conversation with you, but that's not necessarily the topic of the day, right? This is a very specialized, unique conversation that we're having. But with that process of sanctification, if more people understood that hope that you're talking about would be such a more common thing. Because if like I said, if the girl's on the Sergei train, on the Sergei tracks at the Sergei destination, she would be getting the rewards of all the things Sergei wants to do. So like I told you, when you say I want to go out there and I want to work on an animal sanctuary, I'm telling you, as a brother who's made cash before, you don't got to have big money to do that. Get out there and get involved immediately. The more that you do it, the more that, again, that abundance will come back to you so fast. You'll probably get what you're looking for by doing it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like right here on my vision board, I have the 12 jasper in the book of Revelations, all these beautiful pieces of gold, emerald, topaz, sardius, diamond, sapphire, onyx, carbuncle, beryl, jasper, jacinth, sardius, topaz, all these things from the Bible, all these beautiful stones that are in Revelations. I keep it right there because I find that if I really push hard in this spiritual realm, I'm getting rewarded back with real money, financially, for real, with good intention. Because you have to bring that intent to God. You really, really do.
Exactly.
When you pray to line up the right people and the right path in your life, you'll be surprised at what happens. And I'm currently in a position where I hope you can learn from me, where, like I told you, I was born as someone who was able to always be able to attract women, always be able to have them in my life. But God made it very, very clear. And so in the same book, in Outwitting the Devil, even the devil says that this is what he would do to the opposition, which is God. This is what he would do. He says that the value that you earn in this life is the value that you're able to provide to another man. Meaning, like, this microphone right here. Microphone is invented so you can help other people. You're not going to use the microphone when you invent it. It's for everyone.
Right.
When I created Matchmaker, it's not Chris's Matchmaker. It's for everyone else to experience matchmaking, to experience love. So like when I believe, I was told you, I believe, like, Sergei Wild, the YouTube channel. What is it? Sergei Wild
Miles.
Sergei Wild Miles, right? What you can expect from that is that you'll be an individual that gets like celebrity like image, and then you'll get respect. So once you have that, what do you do with that? Like, I just went and talked to a celebrity yesterday, right after the two podcasts that I did, and I'll tell you more about that probably on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
And she's living a fucking delusional life, man. She lives on But once you have that respect, what are you doing with it? You know? What the fuck? Because people right now are not shopping for homes or fame. They don't give a fuck about fame right now. They just don't have time for that luxury. They care about real things. So like I told you, if your name was like Hat Maker, Sergei Wild Miles, the Hat Maker, if it was Sergei Wild Miles, the Hat Maker, that is what the value that you're providing to another person. And the value that you're providing to another person is going to be extremely rewarding. So in your personal case, it might be like, that Sergei, the animal conservationist, or something like in that line, or the animal sanctuary maker, or the
along those lines,
the sanctuary whisperer, something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
Because you have this gift. Or I mean, tell me how much you love animals, bro.
Yeah, so it's to me, it's because to me, I just always loved being outdoors, and I see it as again, like, as love. It's from God. I mean, creation is literally, besides us as human beings, it's the most direct physical evidence of God's being, or what He's done on earth. Obviously, He's not in creation, but He made it. And so, like, that's the fact that it's there. And to me, it's always something. Even before I became a Christian, the only reason I felt that there was something else out there, some greater power, and not multiple, but one, was that I was in nature and I could see, designs in everything. You see designs in trees, wildlife, how things operate. It's not an accident. And there's a whole other thing on intelligent design, the theory of different competing evolution theories, some that are compatible with a creator, some that aren't. But there's a lot of new stuff coming out in that direction. But to me, it's just appreciating that, and the fact that us as man can still, just as we sin, we can be awful towards creation and stuff like that. And so the idea where there's these incredible creations out there, there's incredible ecosystems, incredible just environments we can go in and enjoy, and that the fact we have to enjoy those environments to even live. We need water, we need air, we need good sources for coal, we need natural gas, we need, some are using wind turbines, which have a lot of negatives that we don't talk about, nuclear. So even if you don't like animals per se, we have to depend on creation at some point for a lot of things. And to me, it's just, there's always been something inside where seeing an animal, seeing a group of animals, seeing how it operates in the ecosystem has been really beautiful to see. And obviously, anytime there's mistreatment or there's a unethical use of animal resource, it's kind of maddening. And I think what we have kind of in this, there's a whole lot of stuff that's coming out in the field of conservation and wildlife protection, is there's a whole lot of new resources, because in the West, we've really come to a point where we don't have to extrapolate so much stuff from the natural world anymore. We can make more crops in a smaller area. We can engineer more stuff in a smaller area. We have more condensed populations in certain areas. So now we're reaching a point of rewilding, reintroducing species. There's a lot of companies. One, it's called Colossal. They actually have the DNA for mammoth, for Tasmanian tigers, stuff that we can actually bring back from, quote, the dead. And there's a lot of stuff where it could be unethical, all that stuff, but we've come to a point where we can correct a lot of the mistakes we've made. And I think, and I've not met one person, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone too well, political perspective, whatever it is, that's been outside nature that I've witnessed that hasn't come leaving that nature or wilderness area without some more appreciation for there being a greater design, greater being. If they're very atheist, there's still, you get them down to a point where it's like, there's something behind this. You can't just completely, and they're amazed at stuff. When you see a great painting, you see, I don't really care about the Mona Lisa except for historical significance, but people go to art museums and marvel at scratches, sketches, small designs. How can you not step outside your front door and see that same artistry? And if there's artistry, there's an artist. So that's, to me, where it comes back to God. It comes back from a childhood passion, and it comes back from, we've come to a really cool point in human history where we can correct a lot of our mistakes.
100%, bro. Because in addition to Matchmaker, and I talk to IC all the time on this, right? I have another platform I built called Bible Wars.
Mm.
So it's like this. It's like Bible Wars, man. It's like talking about all this stuff all the time that you're talking about. So like me, I can straight up talk to animals. Always been able to, on a spiritual sense. I'm sure you can relate. You probably feel that way. I have like relationships with animals the same way I have relationships with people. They have their own individual personality. I can meet them and they have the same personality they had when I met them, and they're straight up cool. They're my boy. They're my friends, man. Straight up. So like when it comes to design and it comes to science, right? So science is fucking bullshit. Again, I got degrees on my walls. I went through this shit. I know, right? So the science is all fucking bullshit. Science is a religion. So it comes down to their institution, right? They every brick laid up, all of the schools are made out of deception. So every brick that they laid to deceive you. Every class is made to deceive you. Every college class is made to deceive you. All of the education is deceiving. The only truth you're going to find is in the Bible. So what's going to happen is like science is a false religion. Right? It is their religion. It's their religion that they'll use with who. I'm on YouTube right now. They might kick me off for saying this shit, but like science is a false religion. So like the dude in the white lab coat telling you have to do this scientifically, like when the vaccines and all that was happening.
Yeah, that's a very bad part.
Because they made science into religion, they make you believe that you have to believe science or prove things through science first, but that's bullshit. You need to prove things through the Bible first. Your understanding of the firmament, the more that you understand the firmament, in my eyes, that's all education really comes from there. You learn everything from there. So like when it comes to creation that you were just talking about, sound, sacred geometry, it's not even sacred geometry. It's like, I get to talk to IC about this. It's first of all, numbers, there's a deception in numbers, right? I talked to her about this deception in numbers and she understands it. Like when the devil was loosened from Geneva, Switzerland, when the mud floods happened around the times of Tartaria, when that was going on, he switched symbol for 9. That's a whole other side of creation, but sound is a huge one. That's a little bit more easy for people to understand, right? So sound, you'll at some point, like you'll find that if you're breathing, like in Hebrew, that sound is Yahweh, like, or Yahuwah, right? Like Yahweh, like it's like when you're breathing, right? From the first language. So you'll find like in our own DNA, it'll be like a little man in Hebrew. If you were to put it in Hebrew, the DNA codes are, it sounds like Yahweh. The breath of life sounds like Yahweh. everything is sound resonance before it becomes a leaf that is able to like show creation, before it's like a bug or whatever that can show creation or beautiful designs. So yes, not only is like I can't, in my life, I can't not see the creator. I can't not see God in the, I can't not see God in the, I can't not see God up above. I don't have the ability to look at how that celebrity bitch I'm talking about right now. Like I can't even fathom the world that she's living in. Can't fathom it because I didn't ever, like, I told this to Des Moines, right? Like, as they're brainwashing us, I never looked at the TV and was like, oh, I'm dumb now. Like, I never got brainwashed.
Right.
It didn't happen for me, right? But unfortunately, it is happening for so many others, man. So I think that you and me are going to have like another talk on eschatological things, because if I have you like review like a Bible Wars stuff that I talk about, and you research it and then you understand it, and there's anything you want to talk about, we should definitely talk about that. Here on Bible Wars is fine, because guess what, buddy? There's a lot of chicks who like this stuff. Like there's a missing book in the Bible called the Book of Susanna that teaches how a woman can be righteous before God. Now, if a woman knew how a woman could be righteous for God, I guarantee you that wouldn't be a festering cancer in our fucking society, right? But it is. But like, we're talking about so many things, right? We've identified so many different areas, and now I got to just pick your head freestyle, man, because this is all over the place. I'm just going to go ahead and ask you, Sergey, what are solutions to this? Using love against demoralization, against all the things that we're fighting. What are the solutions, brother? What can we do for the men that are looking to get married, these homes, yourself, animals? Dude, give me all the solutions that we need with that hopeful mindset and that love and understanding that you have.
Yeah, so I think the biggest one is knowledge. Like, you have to know, because now enough knowledge with action is wisdom. And I think what we have, more people will watch something or watch TikTok than read books and read the right books.
Go ahead, start again. Do it again. Completely cut out. Just go ham. Start again.
Yeah. So I think you have to have knowledge, because knowledge partnered with action is wisdom. And so you have to be reading. You have to be critical of that. And I think you have to really go deep into
just
books.
Wait a second. Hold on. I'm gonna ask you again, but you cut out. You're out. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me?
All right, give it a second. You were both times there. I was like, go, and then it was like frozen. I'm like, what the? We're getting a Matrix attack. I see you, devil. We know what you're doing. I rebuke you. You've been rebuked, bitch.
Oh, that's great.
I know my boy about to start screaming, bro. All right, now it looks like the feed is coming back in. Why don't you just go ahead and deliver your message, brother?
Okay. Yes, I think you have to have knowledge. You have to be out there getting a lot of resources, a lot of books, pairing that with action as wisdom. So for me, there's been a lot of books like Rodney Stark, Glory to God, Isaac Newton to Benjamin Franklin, Inventors. All these books that you have to go really, like Rodney Stark is a good author, where he goes into, and his mantra is the Middle Ages weren't that dark and scary. They were actually a lot more of an Enlightenment era than we've been led to believe, because the Middle Ages, Dark Ages were Christian, and that's why we've been told that they were horrible, dark times, and that's just not been the case. Compared to Rome, that was a much darker time, which was, pre-Christian was part of it. And that's when you have to get out there, read the Bible, obviously, read holy books, and be willing to, like Thomas Jefferson says, question everything before you make a final resolution. Even religion. If you go to your average church nowadays, most of what they say has good application, but a lot of their important points can be very, very off. I've been to enough churches that have preached against essentially red pill stuff, they've even mentioned like Jay and Tate's in direct conflict with what they say, which is a problem. So you have to be willing to question everything. You have to be, willing for conversations like this. You have to have peers that you can go to. It can be tough. That is something that is certainly can be a hurdle, but you have to get over it, is finding good brothers. It's hard to talk to the girl, but good brothers that you can talk this critically to, and hopefully it can also be your father. That's something it's very lacking, but if you can talk to your father about this stuff, or he comes to you more, that would be the better way. That's huge. That's something that is really probably one of the biggest downfalls of our society. So be getting as much knowledge as possible. That's helped me. That's where really just reading, like a couple books a week or so. Some of it was just audible listening to it, but doing that for essentially the end of high school through college really just helped me out. Like there's no way to consume this much knowledge just by every so often turning on a documentary about something. That's not how you're going to do it. So get that knowledge, be willing to have these conversations, find peers that you can, and at the end of the day, understand that you can directly go to God as yourself at any time. You don't have to have a priest, you don't have to have an intermediary, you don't have to go to your church necessarily. You should go to church, obviously, and find a good one, but that you can go at any time with any problem. And it's not even that embarrassing. He knows your sins. He's known what you do in the dark. He knows what you think in the day. So he already knows. So there's no point in, you're not going to hide anything from him. But I'd say you have to get that knowledge. I'm trying to think a lot of authors, but just go down the reading list of people like Chris, myself, go to the Tates, look at stuff that they've read, look at book recommendations, the key thing is find books that are 20 years plus older, if not much older. Books that were written well before we've had this feminism, well before we've had this Marxist stuff come in. Books that are like very tiny print and it's like 1,000 pages and it's a good book. Go to the older sources. I think it's Jeremiah 6:16, stand and look by the ancient roads and look and take your path. It's something along those lines. So you have to go to, because we know nowadays you can't go to a mainstream source. You can't go, even like I like Crowder. There's parts of Jordan Peterson I like. There's parts of Rogan I like, but they're still modern, And if they sell something and they reference an older source, go immediately to that older source, read that stuff, get out that knowledge, because that's the bedrock. You have to know what you don't know.
And you know what, brother Sergey, that makes me think and reminds me of is that I had this conversation with you know Rollo Tomasi, Michael Sartain, Zerka.
Yeah.
Great. I've talked to all three of those dudes. I want you to review a conversation that I'm having with Icy. Do you have Twitter?
Yes, I do.
Very cool. I'm going to send you something, right? Because I think that this is a real area that you probably definitely belong in, and it takes a brother to see a brother. You know what I mean? So here, let me go ahead and send you this conversation that I've been having with Icy. It's like a long Twitter thread from Bible Wars.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and send that to you right now, and then I'm going to send you some YouTube videos that I've made that I believe are also here on Matchmaker. But like, as you can imagine, when Matchmaker became a fresh match on Fresh and Fit, I've been going through like a bit of a rebrand here.
Oh, okay.
But it's been working flawlessly, man. We're going to streamline all of this and make sure that everyone gets the right attention that they need. So go ahead, check this out too. Here's me watching. This Zerkas. I told him straight up, you single-handedly are the reason that I came out of retirement. Because like in my eyes, I was straight up like, I was living the boss life. Like I had done most of the things that Fresh and Fit talks about that you need to do. Like to the point where I don't know if I told you this, but like, Myron will call himself Frank Castle, the Punisher. And as a red pill person, I call myself Red Pool. Like breaking the fourth wall, breaking the fifth wall, breaking the sixth wall in terms of red pill. I'm like moonwalking on this shit, because I was born a red pillar. So I'm just like out here learning, growing and growing and growing. And then with people that have like our personality, as I'm sure that you do, when you set your mind to something, you just accomplish shit. You accomplish the fuck out of things when you set your mind onto accomplishing. To the point where it's like, well, now that I accomplished all these goals, what is there left to do? You know what I mean? Like, and then it goes into really, really the most fulfilling thing in my life right now is reaching out to the people, helping people. Like I told you, man, I want to go out there. I want to help people that are homeless in Miami. I want to feed these people. I want to get them food. I want to get everything for them. I want to eliminate the poverty in that area. I want to eliminate this mindset of hoism. I want to eliminate because here's the thing, right? Girls are probably not aware right now, but we have a fucking superpower in our hands here at the Fresh and Fit Castle Club, baby. We are a superpower. And women in and of themselves are very submissive. Honestly, even the most ratchet ones, they're very submissive and they're very easy to change and they're very programmable and they'll very easily fall in line to a brotherhood like this. I guarantee you in the future, like a year from now, let's say when the counseling club is really established and really fermented and girls are even joining the counseling club and they see all these men, they're going to be like, well, I'm shutting the fuck up and getting in the kitchen because that's demanded of our community. And that is what is demanded of God, right? They'll fall in line with the principles of how the earth is supposed to be because we fall in line with those principles. So, you know, the ones that can see the truth, they'll fall into that naturally. And as they fall into that naturally, we're very effectively going to be able to change the world, which is why I'm setting the best of my intentions and my prayers right now, bro. I'm looking at August 11, 2025. I'm thinking I'm going to be out there cleaning up these streets. You know, I don't know if I got a chance to tell you this, but I'm also a DJ. I really am out there. Like I'm going to go out there. I'm going to be putting together DJ matchmaker shows. So I'm bringing in the people, recruiting these people that are lost, because where do you find the most lost people? In music. Who's the angel of music? The devil. God is correcting this shit with me, boy. So we bring them in. And then we witness to them. But it's a long game. It's not like I can go shove the Bible in your face. I can't go shove God in your face. I have to lead by example. And if you like what you're seeing, then it's easier to fall in. And that reminds me of something where I believe it's in the book of Psalms, where they were praying to God, and this happened with me. And because of these things, one of the kings that was praying to God says, God says to the king, and because of these things, I will greatly amplify your noise, meaning I'll greatly amplify your reputation, which means I'll greatly amplify who you are into the firmament, this earth. All knowledge starts with the firmament, man, for me, straight up. That in and of itself has led to so much understanding, so much of my ability to help people, so much of my ability to witness to people. I've had situations, Sergey, where I've been putting out posts on something as old as Facebook, right? And reaching younger people, right? One time I did a straight up, I'll send it to you. I did a podcast with this girl, and she, in the beginning of meeting me versus towards the end of meeting me, completely changed. She's a woman that went from like, and keep in mind, this is not a woman I'm trying to hit on. There's a very different approach to people that are sexual, my sexual relationships. I do, because I've had all of the sexual experiences that a man could ever probably wish for in their lifetime 10 times over. Because of that, I'm able to like look at a girl and be like, I want this to be my friend, or I want to help this person, or I really want to make this girl's life better. She had a baby and a husband at the time that she needed me, but she needed him. She needed a brother in Christ. She needed a brother in Christ. She needed someone who could just fucking help her selflessly. The fulfillment from that, bro, the fulfillment of giving, truly being receiving. Like when I start talking to you about stuff like how the earth is a toroidal field and there's a positive up towards God and a negative down towards the devil, and I start talking to you about how the devil came and switched the number 8 and the number 9 and switched those symbols, and that's why multiplication has a bunch of lies in it, and Terrence Howard is trying to expose that and all of these things. You know, as we go into those kind of conversations, you'll see that pulling the scale, like the ether has two things flowing through it. The ether always has two things flowing through it: the blood of Jesus Christ and the scales of Satan. And if you understand that people's eyes are covered in the scales of Satan, people's minds and ears and tongues and nose and mouth are covered in the scales of Satan, but you, Sergey, can go in there and pull them off. Whew, God is looking at that.
Right.
He is waiting for you. Let me tell you something real quick, right? One of the days before I went on Fresh and Fit for Fresh, right? Like I'm out on the beach. I'm recruiting girls for Fresh. I'm like, yo, you definitely could be on what we were doing at that time for the love of Fresh. Like I was pitching it to him, right? Like I got my paper. To Fresh. I wrote him like this idea. I went out to FAU. I started recruiting girls, and as I was getting girls for Fresh, I got him under this context, because you know, like people will mistake someone like myself as a player. And then, like with Fresh, he'll have an image of being a player, but he's very kind. So I don't know. Like at this time, the intention was like the girls that I'm getting for him in the context of love. That is the intent. Like like remember Cain and Abel. Like I told you, the intent is love. So I'm out there on the beach and I'm telling these girls like, hey man, there's this bachelor, and I'm not telling them who the bachelor is. They don't fucking know.
Right.
I'm telling the girls that here's this bachelor who would really like to get a chance to know you. Here's his number. So I put his number on the back of the business card, right? Now keep in mind, like here's the business card, right? Business card, matchmaker locals. I put the number on the back and give it to the girl. I promise you, dude. I promise you. You look up, you literally feel God smiling on you. You literally feel God saying you're doing the right thing. And your heart and the Holy Spirit, that's what it is. It's the Holy Spirit, right? There's three, God, Holy Spirit, Jesus. You feel the Holy Spirit flowing through your heart, flowing through your mind. You literally can feel you're doing this good thing. And that is an impact that is life-changing, because when your father, your heavenly father, is telling you that you're doing the right thing, man, it sets you on a whole different path.
Oh yeah. No, it's huge. It's huge.
So like, I guess we are heading towards the end of this podcast, but brother Sergey, you've been fucking killing it. Right before we get to the end, though, I am genuinely a little bit more interested in you, Sergey the person, Sergey the brand, Sergey Wild Miles, you know, what you are doing. And I'm just going to start asking you some questions that I personally want to ask you, right?
Okay.
Because I was asking you these questions in the context of the podcast, but now I'm going to get a little bit more personable with you. Sergey, my guy, what the fuck you got going on with all these animals and shit, my boy? Because it looks dope. I would love to be a part of that in some way, you know what I mean? If I can go out there and wrestle an alligator and shit, put that on my Instagram picture, I'd love to do it too, you know what I mean? Shit looks bad. What you got going on? What put you on this journey of travel?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I count it a blessing, but I've been traveling pretty much my whole life. Fortunately, family situation, we've traveled a lot growing up. So just traveling to me was never. So it's a very big blessing. I've just grown up traveling. It's a grown up where multiple times a year would be going to another country, going somewhere across the states. And certainly since college, when I did a study abroad in Kenya and really got into more of the wildlife, like how can I apply this as a profession, as a way to make money, as a way to, achieve those goals of land conservation, wild estate, buying land. It became more, I have to get out there, have to get these experiences. And especially, there's a few things Tate said especially, but you have to have this online presence. You have to have a brand. Obviously, you know that very well. You have to have something where people can see your billboard, call it what it is, a billboard, and say, oh, that's what he's about. I'm going to go call that number. I'm going to go to that website. I'm going to go check this guy, check his brand out. And to me, while I love traveling, it's only been very recent where it's been like, all right, yeah, record this. Yeah, get some cool footage. Yeah, get this guy to take a video of you diving into this pond. You got to get this stuff out there, because we live in an age where you have to get those eyes on you, especially if you have the goals like you do. If you have goals like Fresh and Fit, your whole mantra has to be out there. You can't just be like, you can't write a essay on a WordPress website, put it out there and say, go please read my intentions on the website. We live in a world where, flashy is cool, getting that good visual is cool. So to me, it's at the same time building that experience, because I know with getting the wild conservation, all this animal stuff, making those connections anyhow in these different countries, these different places with these different travel groups, like I've been doing here in Mexico. While I'm doing that, I should also be getting that footage, knowing the area. I'm definitely coming back to Mexico in the next month or two to do another whale shark dive before the season ends. They have a bunch of conservation rules down here, so it's only 3 months of the year. So to me, I loved it, and now I have to understand that loving it means having to document it, having to get the footage, having to meet these people. And I'm at a point where I can travel. There's certain ways to do it cheaper that I've learned. So that's something I'm really looking forward to doing more of. I'll probably be next foreseeable many years, probably at least 5 years, doing a ton of traveling to different countries, getting those different hands-on experiences, making those connections. Because there's people that I follow that are way more ahead in the game than I am in terms of conservation, where they're doing it now because they have a platform. But if they did this 20 years earlier in the career, they'd be much farther. So doing what they are doing now in the last few years, but right now, trying to get ahead of that game is something that's my goal. So be able to pick up the phone and say, oh, there's this guy in Kenya I can call about elephant research. I can go over there to help him out with the project. That's huge already for something in this field.
Brother, It sounds like you're on the precipice of building an empire.
Would love to. Exactly.
I fucking love that, man. That is super inspirational, and it is super fucking cool, man. If you were to describe, like, I'm trying to think of a fresh and fit way to do this, you know? Because the fact that you are out there changing the world is very fresh and fit. It's very like red pill. You're taking action. You're changing it with your bare hands. You're out there connecting with people. You're getting involved in animal sanctuaries. You're gonna have to innovate a space because that space doesn't have enough eyes. So you're gonna have to record a lot of things. You know, I used to think exactly like you when I was in your age because I was also a dog trainer, right? So I would think about like putting a bunch of collars with cameras on it and using that live feed to do marketing for social media to get animals fed and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm not exactly sure what's in your head, but it sounds like it's a beautiful and brilliant thing. So I'm really hoping that you can absolutely get some momentum on that, as you don't need to do it alone. You know, you always will have brothers that are going to reach out, brothers that want to help you, brothers that are going to understand your way of thinking and understand your way of the world. At some point, you will go out into the world and do these things in nature, and then you come back into the world and have to do things in corporate or like corporate adjacent this parallel economy, because that's just the nature of a man's journey. It happens all the time. So you need to be prepared for literally everything. And I guess I would go on to ask you if you could, at this moment, whether it be your goal or not, describe a dream woman or women, whatever you're into. What would that look like in compliments to you?
Yeah. So for me, it would be like, in terms of having kids and all that, would in a marriage, certainly only one woman, religious marriage to one woman, but she would be someone, and again, it'd be tough to have it right now, but in general and compliments, certainly would have to have the same reverence and respect for the creation as I do. You couldn't not appreciate that and be with me at the same time. She'd have to help, move my goals forward. So she, let's say if I'm doing film or something, she could help edit, record, whatever. Or if, obviously there's someone I'm actually kind of look up to in the space who, it's really weird. He's certainly not out there red pill, but a lot of stuff he says subliminally is very red pill. He said things which I would also want in my relationship, is when his wife has to finally have kids, which is kind of a weird way to have it. But essentially when the question of kids came up, he's like, well, I'm going to be traveling. I'm doing all this wildlife stuff. So I'll be making money doing wildlife stuff. We can have kids, but you have to take care of them. So that would be something where it's like, yeah, I'll still be doing a lot of stuff. I love my kids. I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this to build up something for the future and for their kids' future, and something they can aspire to. But it won't be, I'm not going to be, there might be a lot of times where I'm not there, extended periods, and especially early on in the relationship or marriage. So yeah, definitely complimenting. I kind of like blonde hair, blue eyes, so I'd be going down that route. A little bit of curves, and something that can compliment for sure. That has the same reverence, Christian, obviously, and someone that, and as we mentioned before, someone that I might have to do some vetting, some teaching with, because even if they're Christian, they might not have the same grasp that you do, or myself, especially you, on what's really, really going on in this world with, ether, the darker realm, all these forces against us and God. So yeah, certainly complimentary for sure.
Now, this is a matchmaker question coming from me, right? Because the future wifey's probably going to watch this by the time it's in my marketing channels, So the question is, what makes you a good candidate to the girl? What makes you the man this girl should really wish for?
Yeah. So obviously right now my money's at an okay point, but the goal is to get it much higher. So that would be, she'd be stepping into a successful, someone who can provide for her, someone who knows knows duty as a man, as a Christian, as a protector and provider, not just a on paper kind of guy, but someone who's actively trying to live it, someone actively in the Word of God, especially with the experience of going to other places, other countries, other situations that are much different than a lot of the comfy situations in the United States or any racial group, I'd argue. There's certain ways to move in this world. There's certain ways to treat other people. There's certain ways when you step into a dining room of a not a dining room, but a dining area of a, African village to a place in Suriname to a place in Brunei. There's certain ways you have to have mannerisms. So she could know that I have,
a way of the world.
Yeah,
like
you have to somehow,
man of the world.
yeah, you have to be a chameleon sometimes in other world aspects of the world. You have to be able to adopt the custom on the go. You have to be able to be respectful in that situation. So she won't be getting just a cardboard cutout American guy who's never been out of the country, who just knows how to go to the grocery store, get some food, and come back and go to work. Which obviously people are there. They're probably getting out of that situation. That's a place to grow from. And I've really not had, obviously for guys that's different, but there's not been massive life altering traumas, you could say, in my past. There's been certainly tough times and some close times, but nothing where it's been something that people would say, oh, you should go to therapy too or something, which I won't recommend anyways. Modern therapy is a sham, unless it's under some Christian doctrine, obviously. So that's what she's getting. But I would argue that I'm not looking for her right now, but hopefully she'll see me on my way up.
Hell yeah, man. And trust me, brother, I know how these girls think. So and I don't think that the girls know that we kind of figure this out when we meet the chick. But let's just say overall in general, what would the first few dates look like?
Yeah. Even now, there's a couple been meeting down here in Mexico. Just the first one's usually I like walk on the beach, walking somewhere outdoors, especially Florida. It's easy. Mexico, obviously very easy. So yeah, first date, what I kind of learned from obviously you guys and experience, honestly, was, and I just don't really pay for anything on the first date. It's let's go for a walk. Let's go check this cool site out. Let's do something like that. And that's been going very well. It's honestly had a better response rate anyhow, which I was kind of shocked. I was like, you'd rather just, you don't ask them this, but there's been better response rate to lesser commitment in a first date. So on a walk, just get to know them. They'll get a vibe. They'll get, my vibe, whatever they call that. But, look presentable, talk a bit about goals, but mostly just get what their whole mantras are. Get more out of them. See what they're about. And then, so first you kind of like that. And then, there'd be dinner, second or third, something like that. To me, it's more just seeing, disqualifying them, because what they do is disqualify us as soon as possible. So doing the same, which most guys don't do. Usually it's oh, man, she's kind of weird like that. But maybe if I get a really nice dinner, we can go a little farther, have a few more dates, be more successful, whatever you want to call it. So to me, it's all right, how quickly should I get rid of this woman? Because to me, I'm not trying to tag along a bunch of partners per se. So it's more of I don't have the time for you anyways. So it's, if I can just disqualify you, not for petty things, but for real things that I know you're not going to change, and my job isn't to just be here to reshape you. So to that and to improve you, so she teach you if you're going to be a wife, but not reconstructing you completely. So that's not my job. So yeah, definitely starting out more casual for sure, and something outside. I just like the outside. Usually it's very easy. And a lot of girls, especially, we were joking about it yesterday after we took the pictures of the Crocs. I was laughing at the guys. I was like, they really dig it when you're oh, I had this scar from this, or I have this picture with this animal, or oh, down over that lake I went this time, blah, blah, blah. They eat it up. So that's been my process.
Fuck yeah, my brother. So, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I think those are some phenomenal points of view that you have, man. I know that we are definitely not on our last podcast here. This is the first of many,
Cool.
If I see that I need to hit you up in the context of the Bible wars, I'll totally do that. And then of course in the context of matchmaking and stuff. Let me go ahead and ask you this matchmaker question, right? Me, right? It goes without saying, a girl that does marketing is so much better than a girl that does fucking cheerleading in my life, right? If a girl could do marketing, that would help me in my life, because she could go ahead and chop up the clips, so the videos out there, manage Shopify stores. She'd go ahead and do run the e-commerce kind of thing, right? That would help my life a lot, So what can a lady do to add to your life, Sergey?
Yeah, right now, certainly a lot of it is editing. A lot of video stuff. A lot of I have my time is actually spent like looking at different real ideas, different content ideas, making like there's a list I have where if people people in the wildlife conservation space, setting up like videos with them, podcasts with them to put out there a little bit. So certainly a lot of like her doing that kind of like secretary work, I guess you could call it. But that would be like the biggest, in terms of just outside of just being feminine, someone to be nice, go on a few dates with, that would actually be a tangible asset right there.
Yeah, because you're so outdoorsy, I thought you were going to say something like, I hang on to the crocodile's mouth and she jumps on its back. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and that went in a whole professional way.
Yeah. I mean, that too, yeah, I guess, yeah, that too. But yeah, I guess I trust myself more around a wild animal than a girl,
100%, bro.
You're gets hurt, like, oh my God, that's,
I thought you were going to say something like, bro, I'm going to dress as a deer to go migrate with the deer. If you sit there with a sniper rifle, you shoot the deer. Don't shoot me. Shoot the other deer.
Right. Yeah.
Don't fuck with me, baby.
No, that's true. There's some actual wildlife videoing. Yeah.
Yo, brother said, this is nothing but enjoyable, man. As we're wrapping up here, can you go ahead and give people like a breakdown of what they can expect from your content, your channel, your Instagram, your social medias? Give me the Sergei experience, man. I need the whole thing. I need to know what I'm shopping for. What am I buying? What am I getting out of the Sergei brand, Sergei Wild, Sergei Kelley? This is the time, brother. Let me know. What is this all about for me and anyone else, all the interested ladies that are listening?
Exactly. I mean, if you have any interest in the outside world and want to know more about it, wildlife, I'm your guide. From going, you're not going to run into a channel that's just very bland pictures, that's just still photos, that's a very like nerdy guy talking about, oh, here's this white-tailed deer, it likes to eat shrubs. It's like, no, it's going to be cool stuff. It's action shots. It's something where I'm trying to be as real as possible. Like there's a lot of times where you see fake content where it's very polished, it looks too nice almost. And there's certainly professionalism, but there's too many people out there putting this fake stuff out there where it's not real. They weren't really there in the water with the animal. They weren't really there with that celebrity. They weren't really there with that event, whatever it was. So it's going to be real. I try to get, as close as safe as possible with these wild animals, show my appreciation for them, tell a little bit more about them. It's not going to be a lecture, but going to be just, hey, like it lives in this cool environment. We've got some factors over here. Maybe we should do something about it. But by the way, this like, its bite force is this and kill you in an instant. So some cool stuff, exciting. I do mostly cover like wildlife, conservation, a bit of, I do get a bit into like the politics of conservation. You won't find too explicit stuff on red pill stuff, honestly, just because it's very difficult to directly do red pill alongside wildlife conservation, just because the audience there would be very skewed. There's something that I've talked a bit. There was a couple where I've done just on how America isn't a very tough problem. I'll mention just general political stuff that's very like what we've mentioned, where we have a demoralized society, where we have problems, and that's something that anyone could talk about. You can be red pill for sure, and I'd rather hear the red pill perspective and talk about that one, but everyone should know that's a problem. So yeah, I'm about just wildlife being out there, action, not one like big fat bloated biologists that go into a Jeep in the safari and point at a line. Like I want to be on the field next to that line or like chasing after on a horse or whatever. So really out there. Yeah, I like some people spend a few in Florida. It's like the Florida Steve Irwin, the guy from Australia.
Yeah, I was going through your stories and it sounded like you were mimicking him. Or was that him or was that you talking?
That was him. Yeah, I was a recording of him over playing the crocodile I saw last night.
I was like, yo, is he making the Steve Irwin voice, bro?
I'm not that good.
This is what I want to say, Sergei, bro. I love this wildlife stuff, man. I'm like, I like the earth a lot, Right. So I'll say this, man. As an older brother in the Red Pill, what I hope for you is that you could take your marketing and your Shopify powers that you have and kind of, the internet says niche down. I call it a focus, right? Okay. I hope that you can combine this wildlife with your Shopify store and give it a focus, even if it was like a monthly subscription on like you teaching me something, maybe like about venom or venomous nature or something. Wildlife makes me think about cures, makes me think about I can go to this plant and get this medicine kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I'm sure that you have like an infinite amount of knowledge to give. So I'm hoping that you could like niche down or focus on something about wildlife that I can only get from you, which I would then intrinsically return as your value. Like, remember when I said hat maker?
Right.
You know,
right.
maybe you do make hats out of leaves, you know, fuck it. But you know, if there, as you're building out this beautiful connection to the wildlife, and when you do, like, if I, again, like I'm a little bit ahead of you in the years, so if I was doing that, at some point I would have to come back to the real world and do like corporate shit, or like do like
Right.
in our parallel economy stuff. As you're going back and forth between these things, if you can figure out that kind of a focus and just be the man for that one single solitary thing, brother, that's all I want for you to do is succeed. I want you to keep praying to him and asking for that determination and focus, that he reveal it to you, take off the scales, give you clarity. Not saying that you have skills, but you know, fuck it. If you're there, you might as well like
Yeah, I don't
right?
have to peel any off. Yeah.
Just make sure that he's guiding you on the right path and putting you on this determination and bringing the right people into your life, as this is already happening today, man.
Awesome.
You know,
Awesome.
other than that, brother Sergey, I have had a fan-fucking-tastic time talking to you. I love where you're going. I love your mentality. Your mentality is so pure. It's a light. You have that light. You have that hope. You have that inner inspiration. If no one ever told you that before, you fucking have that thing, that it factor, that thing that is going to be, if you so choose to put all your time, energy, effort, and focus into those videos. Like, I saw the way that you do videos. Looks great. Love it. If that focuses on what I was just saying, a niche that I only know you for this one thing, the world is yours. The world is yours. It's not even a question. It's just, how much do you want to take and when are you going to take it?
Exactly.
It's your choice. So on that note, brother Sergey, I'm looking forward to our Zoom call tomorrow. I believe it's at 7, right?
Awesome. Awesome.
Yo, I'm looking forward to that. We got to get brothers in this Casa Club. And other than that, man, I've had a fantastic time talking to you. I'm looking forward to talking to you again in the future. I'm looking forward for more things from you. And I cannot wait to go on. And I'm hoping that next time that we talk, if you've sparked anything in terms of Christianity or ideas or business or notes that you want to take down and ask me next time, go ahead and do that. Put it in your phone, whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to talk again, my guy. And I cannot wait to do it. I'm looking forward to it, Sergey.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris. This has been incredible. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
Fuck yeah. If you saw some of the video clips that I have coming out, that's what I'm going to do with this too. If you saw, like, I just put out one with Sed, and it's going to be Sed, it's going to be Demoy, it's going to be DL Saint, it's going to be you. So I'm making sure the brothers is eating. We getting out there. You getting in front of the league. You getting in front of everybody, my bro.
There we go. No, I'd definitely like to post some stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck yeah, man. Make video clips out of this too. Have fun, brother. I want you to have fun while you're out there. I'm not going to take all your time. I know you're having fun out there in Mexico, man.
No, thank you, Seth. It's Chris. This has been awesome, and yeah, definitely get a call. Glad the Cast Club is growing. It's been incredible. This movement is awesome, and I can't be more thankful to be a part of it.
Fuck yeah, my guy. Me either. It's been a blessing talking to you. I will see you, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out, my guy.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Talk
See
to
you
you soon.